Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we will be breaking down, in fact, the one Calder candidate from every single team in the AHL for the 2021 season. That is how good this rookie class is, and with an expanded roster format that is bound to happen for this unprecedented season in 2021, the 56-game season starting in mid-January, we very well could see a lot of players, rookies, that get better opportunities than maybe they would have originally should these expanded rosters had not been in place, given everything that has happened over this past year. So because of that, we're going to see a lot of rookies not just blossom, but make quite the impact for their respective clubs, and definitely great arguments to be had with not just being a Calder nominee, but possibly being the Calder winner in the end. So that's what I'll be breaking down, so make sure you stay all the way until the end of the video for all the deets and all my thoughts regarding these players for every single team in the AHL, and also make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you end up enjoying this kind of hockey content. But without further ado guys, let's get right into this video. Starting with the Anaheim Ducks, we have 19-year-old centerman and can play the wing, and TREVOR ZEGRAS. ZEGRAS, who signed his ELC, is expected to hit the NHL next season, do phenomenal in camp, I would assume, with the Anaheim Ducks, is going to have a significant role in that top 6, that top 9, and really be the next big thing to happen in Anaheim when it comes to the center position, unless he plays the wing, really since a guy like Ryan Getzlaf, to be that heir apparent, if you will. A phenomenal playmaker who can shoot the puck as well, has a strong transition game, had 36 points in 33 games, including 11 goals and 25 assists in his freshman season with Boston University this past year, and is now done with Boston University, hitting the AHL, and he's definitely going to be one of the key favorites to be a Calder nominee among all the other great rookies you'll see in this video. Next up for the Arizona Coyotes, we have 20-year-old centerman BARRETT HAYTON. HAYTON's expected to make quite the splash at the NHL level in the top 6, if not top 9 for the Arizona Coyotes next season, with having some losses in free agency and obviously not having a strong draft, as we know, a controversial one to say the least. They need some bodies in that lineup, and they need to continue to try to develop the talent that they currently have, and HAYTON is a phenomenal talent as it is. A very strong playmaker who can shoot the puck as well, another guy with a decent transition game, and a big body for that matter, who had 20 games of NHL experience just this past year, in which he racked up 1 goal and 3 assists for 4 points, and was currently playing on loan in the 2020-2021 season thus far in Liga, where he has put up 4 points in 8 games. But he's fully expected to make the jump as an NHL regular next season, and could find himself in some great situations for Arizona, both 5-on-5 and on special teams, to really help command that offense, whichever line he's going to be on, and to make quite the impact next season. Next up for the Boston Bruins, we have 21-year-old centerman in Jack STUDNICKA. Now, STUDNICKA does have a somewhat of an uphill battle just because of how deep Boston usually is on the offensive front, but between the injuries that they're enduring, the expanded roster that is sure to happen, and because of how that bottom 6 is currently shaping out, you could see STUDNICKA definitely cracking in that bottom 6 for sure. He has put up some phenomenal numbers in the AHL the past year for the Providence Bruins, in which he racked up 49 points in just 60 games, including 23 goals and 26 assists, and he also had a cup of coffee with the Bruins this past season, racking up 1 point in 2 games. A lot of potential behind him as well, both 5-on-5 and on special teams. Could find himself on the second power play sooner rather than later should he crack the lineup and make quite the impact, a surprising one. And as long as he's around those great guys on special teams, with guys like, of course, Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci, Pastrnak, and Marchand, great things are going to happen. So don't sleep on a guy like STUDNICKA. Should he make the roster, I can expect him to make quite the impact and really have that ceiling to be a solid top 6 forward, whether he's playing on the center or the wing for the Bruins in these coming years. Next up, we have 19-year-old centerman for the Buffalo Sabres, and that is Dylan Cozens. Cozens, originally a high draft pick, as we know, looks like a phenomenal talent and is sure to hit the NHL next season. Had 85 points in just 51 games in his final year in juniors this past year, racking up 38 goals and 47 assists. He's a great goal scorer, but is also a phenomenal playmaker with some of the best passing you will see out of these prospects that I discussed with you today. Is expected to have an increased role in that top 6, that top 9 for the Sabres next year, both 5-on-5 and on special teams as well, and is definitely one of the more favorites to be a nominee for the Calder next season, along with many of these other great talents. Next up for the Calgary Flames, we have left-handed defenseman at 22 years of age and Juuso Valimaki, a fantastic puck-moving defenseman who's definitely a sleeper by many, but is looking like he's going to make quite the impact of the NHL next season. As a dynamic puck-moving defenseman that is going to help command the power play as that power play quarterback, he's put up 19 points in 19 games to date, currently playing on loan in Liga, including 2 goals and 17 assists. Missed the entire 2019-2020 season due to injury, but before that, he did have a cup of coffee in the NHL in 24 games played. had 1 goal and 2 assists for 3 points. So he is still considered a rookie because you need at least 25 games played in the AHL in one season to be exempt of being a rookie in the AHL. But Valimaki is going to make a splash. He's AHL ready. We know this. He's had plenty of experience in the league as it is. He's doing fantastic. Currently on loan, is ready to be a huge part of that defense, probably in that top 4, I would assume, for the Flames next season. What an impact he's going to have for them as a great puck moving defenseman that they surely need after losing some key guys in both TJ Brody and Travis Hamonic, among others, in free agency this year. Even with adding Chris Tanev, it's definitely going to be a help to have Valimaki, and he's going to make a great case to help out that amazing offense at times in front of him for the Calgary Flames. Next up for the Carolina Hurricanes, we have 22-year-old centerman in Morgan Geekie. He had a cup of coffee in the AHL last season after having another dominant campaign in the AHL, in which for the NHL at least, he put up a total of 4 points in just 2 games with 3 goals and 1 assist, and also had 1 point in 8 games in the qualifying round and the playoffs for the Carolina Hurricanes this past year. He's going to be in that top 9 for sure for the Hurricanes. A strong playmaker, really has a motor behind him as well, and can shoot that puck, no doubt, with those 3 goals in 2 games. That's telling enough. But he made quite the splash in a short period of time. So even though Jake Beans, another great talent who very well could find himself as finally an AHL regular in the 2021 season, I'm going with Morgan Geekie here because he's a great talent, and given the right opportunities, could find himself with a strong rookie campaign. Next up for the Chicago Blackhawks, we have P.S. Suter, the 24-year-old centerman playing from Switzerland, who signed a deal with the Blackhawks this past offseason, in which he racked up a career-high 53 points in just 50 games, scoring 30 goals and 23 assists in Switzerland this past year, leading to his contract, and then also put up 9 points in 10 games in the time of recording this, including 3 goals and 6 assists in alone in Switzerland to start off the 2021 season. But another guy who's expected to make quite the impact could find himself in a similar situation like Dominic Kubalik a year ago. No one expected him to make the impact that he did, and they're expecting the same with a guy like Suter on a cheap contract with having little to no money in this rebuild for the Blackhawks. They want to see a guy like Suter thrive in that top 6, and I surely think he will do just that. So be on the lookout. A guy with some strong hands and really garnered his goal scoring ability this past season could find himself definitely a nominee, and surprising a lot of people in doing so. Next up for the Colorado Avalanche, we have 19-year-old left-handed defenseman and BOWEN BYRAM. BYRAM, in his final year in juniors this past year, racked up 52 points in just 50 games, including 14 goals and 38 assists. A dynamic puck-moving defenseman to be a power play quarterback, even though they have Cale Makar. Now you got 2 of them basically with different shots in left and right hand. That's amazing as it is, but Byram's going to do all he can to not just crack the roster for the Avs coming into camp, but also have quite the impact, probably on that bottom pair if I had to guess as of now. But he's going to see himself in a great situation with a phenomenal Avalanche team, one of the best offenses in the league. He's an amazing puck-moving defenseman, both 5-on-5 and special teams as that power play quarterback, as I mentioned. An amazing transition game and some of the best vision you will see out of these defensive prospects. Truly a guy that, given the right opportunity to start out, is going to find himself way up there in the rankings to be a Calder nominee. Next up, we have 20-year-old centerman for the Columbus Blue Jackets and Liam FOUDY. FOUDY really had his first cup of coffee this past season with the Blue Jackets, where he had 2 regular season games played in which he had 1 point, and then had 2 points and 10 games played in the qualifying round and playoffs for the Blue Jackets this past season. So strong numbers there for a guy first coming into the league, and it looks like he's going to bring some great playmaking and goal scoring ability. Really balanced, and I think is going to bode quite well under a guy like John Tortorella and that offense that desperately needs help. As we know, they're looking to maybe still add guys in free agency as it is at the time of recording this, but FOUDY, a great talent, is going to find himself in that top 6, if not top 9 for sure, given all the opportunities available to both 5-on-5 and on special teams. Really can shoot the puck as well, very underrated in that aspect because he had more assists than he did goals in his last season in juniors just a year ago, but really can put up some goal scoring for sure. So a very balanced forward for the Columbus Blue Jackets with a lot to give and a lot of reasons to be excited about him for all you Jackets fans out there. Next up for the Dallas Stars, we have 21-year-old left winger and Jason Robertson. Robertson, the older brother of Nick Robertson, the other coveted prospect from the Toronto Maple Leafs, found himself with a strong season this past year in his first season in the AHL playing in pro hockey, where he racked up a total of 47 points in just 60 games, including 25 goals and 22 assists, and also had a cup of coffee this past year in the AHL with 1 point in 3 games. So Robertson, a guy who's really expected to be in the top 6 possibly for the Dallas Stars as soon as next season, and while while Thomas Harley is definitely another great argument to be had as to who's going to have more potential between these two, Robertson is probably going to have the most opportunity in this offense, with the offense that has not looked great on paper in the regular season. Playoffs are a different story, as we know, but it's not going to hurt to have a big body like Jason Robertson, who is really a goal scoring machine but can also put up some great playmaking and passing ability. So really excited about Jason Robertson. Definitely a sleeper that I don't think is getting nearly enough credit that he deserves to make quite the impact in the AHL next season. Next up for the Detroit Red Wings, we have 19-year-old right-hand defenseman and MORITZ SEIDER, who's currently playing on loan in the SHL at the time of recording this, has 11 points in 15 games played for the 2021 season, including 2 goals and 9 assists, and the year prior played in the AHL, in which he racked up 20 plus points as a teenager. Amazing numbers. SEIDER is definitely AHL ready. Another fantastic puck-moving defenseman who is so defensively sound between the shot blocking, between breaking up plays, whatever it needs to be, and has some great speed and acceleration into that offensive zone, and some of the best transition games you will see out of all these defensive prospects in the AHL today. NHL ready, a great talent, is ready to play against men in the AHL, and it will not surprise me to see him thrive in both 5-on-5 and as a power play quarterback for the Red Wings as they continue this full rebuild next season. Next up for the Edmonton Oilers, we have 21-year-old right-hand defenseman in Evan Bouchard. Bouchard, currently playing like MORITZ SEIDER on loan in the SHL for the 2021 season, has 17 points in just 23 games played, including 6 goals and 11 assists, and has really been dynamic as another great puck-moving defenseman, a power play quarterback with some size as well, and is ready to make that jump to the AHL level as a future long-term power play quarterback for the Oilers, with guys like McDavid, Draisaitl, only 2 of the best players in all the AHL, right? Outside of Tyson Barrie that they currently have on that 1-year deal, you're going to have a guy like Bouchard, who I really believe is going to make an impact in the AHL next season, and given the right opportunities, given some time possibly as the second power play unit, could find himself in some great company to be a Calder nominee, because when you're around these amazing talents in McDavid and Draisaitl, truly anything is possible. Next up for the Florida Panthers, we have 21-year-old right winger and OWEN Tippett. OWEN had a total of 40 points in just 46 games in the AHL this past season, including 19 goals and 21 assists. He's already had a cup of coffee a couple years ago in the AHL, which he had 1 point in 7 games, but he just wasn't ready for the AHL yet and played more years in the OHL. But since then, he's been blossoming huge against men in the AHL, a lethal goal scorer that is going to be in a prime spot in the top 6, if not top 9, for the Panthers after losing guys like both Evgeny Danov and Mike Hoffman to free agency. And while Gregor Daniseco and Antoine Liddell could both find themselves with a strong impact in the AHL next season too, OWEN Tippett really stands out to me because of the potential he's already had at the NHL, AHL level, playing in North America with that great goal scoring, a lethal shot, and is going to be given plenty opportunities to succeed both 5-on-5 and on special teams. Next up for the LA Kings, we have 21-year-old centerman and Gabriel Vilardi. You might be wondering, Tyler, how do you not have a guy like Quinton Byfield or maybe even Alex Turcotte to an extent here? The main reason is what Vilardi has done at the NHL level already and is fully expected to have a significant impact and is ready to go over these other guys that might do really well in their rookie years next season, including Byfield most notably, but there is some uncertainty there versus a guy like Vilardi who is ready to go if you ask me. If you look at what he did in the 2018-2019 season, was out for the majority of the season basically due to a significant injury, but since comeback was dominant in the AHL, racking up 25 points in over 30 games, and then also in a short stint in the NHL to finish off the season for the Kings last year, had a total of 7 points in just 10 games with 3 goals and 4 assists. He's dynamic, he's truly dominant as a stronger, bigger body size, typical LA Kings centerman if you ask me, between his size, his speed, his skill, his strength, and really as a transition game as well is superb. Really great playmaking ability, can shoot the puck no doubt. Such a balanced centerman overall if you ask me, that I think is going to thrive for sure in the top 6 and an increased role with the LA Kings. And out of all those rookies, and maybe Byfield will do better, I'm not sure. If I had to pick, I'm going with a guy like Gabriel Vilardi to really wow some people and definitely be a consideration as a Calder nominee. Next up for the Minnesota Wild, we have, Kirill Kaprizov, the 23-year-old left winger who was dominant, and I mean dominant, at the KHL level for these past 5 years. And his final season in the KHL this past year racked up 62 points in just 57 games, including 33 goals and 29 assists. Kaprizov has since signed his ELC. He's in the AHL now, is definitely going to be a front runner to win the Calder next season, given his readiness against men, doing amazing things in the KHL, which is the second best league in the entire world of hockey as it is, but an amazing playmaker, has some great speed and acceleration, can definitely shoot the puck, just so consistent. You know what you're getting with him every single night, a consistent point getter in any which way with some nifty hands that are truly something remarkable. So Kirill Kaprizov, an elite talent. Even with Marco Rossi possibly starting the season with the Wild next year, I gotta go with Kirill Kaprizov. He's just that good. Next up for the Montreal Canadiens, we have 20-year-old left-handed defenseman and Alexander Romanov. He has been an amazing talent as well, racking up 7 points in 43 KHL games this past year, including just 7 assists, but really hasn't even lived up to what the potential is for a guy like Romanov yet, if you ask me. At least what we can expect from him at the NHL level. He has a lot more offensive ability that you really wouldn't see much in the KHL, given his more limited role versus what you would see in his time in World Juniors, for example, where he really put on a display at times. So a guy like Romanov, he is a little rough around certain edges of his game, but truly NHL ready, if you ask me. Signed his ELC as well, is definitely going to make a shot to be in that defense. I wouldn't see why he wouldn't be. I don't see him getting any time in the AHL. He's NHL ready, has some great skating, some great two-way ability for sure, can lay out some huge hits as well. Just such a balanced defenseman, if you ask me, that's only getting better with the days coming regarding his offensive ability, and we're going to see it on full display in Montreal with a great team in front of him. I think Romanov is going to make quite the splash and really could find himself as possibly being a 40+ point defenseman in the NHL one day. Maybe not right away, but sooner than later, and I think he's going to have a fine rookie campaign. Next up, we have 21-year-old right winger for the Nashville Predators, and that is Eeli Tolvanen. Tolvanen is a guy who has taken a little bit longer than expected in his development after being a higher draft pick a couple years ago, but has really solidified himself now as finally being an NHL regular. At least that's what the Predators are approaching him as. All the reports I've seen is that Tolvanen could very well find himself on that second line for the Preds next season, playing alongside, yes, Matt Duchene and Luke Kunin. And all the opportunities are now there for him alongside a star centerman and a guy like Duchene, and Kunin, who's another strong young forward since being traded over with the Nick Bonino trade with the Minnesota Wild. But I think Tolvanen, who has played in 24 games played in the 2021 season in the KHL on loan, who's racked up 12 points, including 4 goals and 8 assists, has some amazing goal scoring and playmaking ability, and had a strong stint in the AHL the year prior, including 35+ points in his stint in the AHL, has 7 NHL games on his resume, including 1 point over 2 different stints, and I think he's ready to take that next step, and I think the Predators believe that as well. So Tolvanen in a great spot in that top 6, that top 9, 5 and on special teams. All the opportunities are there for him to succeed, and if he does, he's going to find himself definitely up there in the rankings given all the opportunities that will present themselves. Next up for the New Jersey Devils, we have 20-year-old left-handed defenseman and Ty Smith, finishing off his final year in juniors this past year, where he racked up 59 points in just 46 games, including 19 goals and 40 assists. Ty Smith is fully ready to hit the NHL, if you ask me. I don't see him getting much of any time in the AHL, if so, maybe a cup of coffee, but the NHL is definitely his prime time now with the New Jersey Devils team that needs a lot of help on that defense when it comes to puck-moving defensemen, because outside of Will Butcher, there really isn't much there. Damon Severson's solid, but nothing crazy. Ty Smith would be by far the best puck-moving defenseman on that blue line, arguably, with amazing vision and playmaking ability in that offensive zone. He loves commanding the power play and making things happen on the offensive side of things, but he is also defensively reliable with his transition game. A great impactful player that should, if he is given a lot of opportunities both 5-on-5 and on special teams as maybe if not the first, then second power play quarterback, then great things are going to happen for Ty Smith. So look out. If there's a defenseman that I really think is going to take a huge jump in his rookie year next year, I think it's going to be Ty Smith. Next up for the New York Islanders, we have 25-year-old goaltending prospect in ILYA Sorokin, who has just signed his ELC this past offseason, finally with the New York Islanders and their fans. That's what they would say. Coming from the KHL, in which he has been arguably the best goaltender in the KHL for the past 5+ years, and his final season in the KHL this past year, he had a total of 26 wins, 10 losses, 3 overtime losses, a save percentage of .935, and a goals allowed average of 1.50. Amazing numbers, and he has seen all accolades possible in the KHL for the most part. Is NHL ready. He's going to be playing alongside fellow Russian and Semyon Varlamov as a tandem for the New York Islanders next season. In this win now stage, he's going to have a huge part to their success and very well could be one of the best up-and-coming goaltenders in the entire NHL for the next 5+ years. So, Ilya Sorokin, a lot to love about his game. So composed, so NHL ready, and I truly believe he's going to be dominant from the first time he touches NHL ice. Next up, we have for the New York Rangers the 19-year-old left winger and ALEXIS LAFRENIERE. The guy on the wall behind me, the former first overall pick in 2020, had 112 points in just 52 games played in his final year in juniors, where he racked up a total of 35 goals and 77 assists. Amazing numbers. He's so dominant between his offensive ability, really looking like he's always 2 to 3 steps ahead of the opposing team, between his playmaking, his amazing vision, his hands, his shot. He really has it all, and he has an elite frame already as a 19-year-old to go up against men in the NHL. He's easily one of, if not the biggest favorite to win the Calder in 2021, and he's going to be a huge impact as really the next face of the franchise, more than likely, for the New York Rangers. While Igor Shesterkin is definitely another good argument to be had for who I would pick in this scenario here, I have to give the upper hand to Laffy because of the opportunities given to him, and because of Shesterkin. While he is great and I love everything about his game, he is going to be splitting some time with a guy like Alexander Georgiev, so who knows exactly if he's going to get enough games under his belt to really solidify himself as a better rookie between the two next season. But Lafreniere, what a stud. He's going to be simply dominant in the NHL right away. Next up for the Ottawa Senators, we have 18-year-old left wing / centerman and Tim Stützle. Stützle, who won 3rd overall in the 2020 NHL draft, is an amazing overall player. Between his playmaking, his elite acceleration in that offensive zone, his vision, his amazing deking and set of hands, truly something to watch from a night-to-night basis, who had 34 points in 41 games played in his freshman year in Dell this past year, which led him to being such a high draft pick, including 7 goals and 27 assists. He really has it all to be dominant at the NHL level as the next face of the franchise for the Ottawa Senators. And even with other guys that are set to hit the NHL in the 2021 season, with guys like Alex Wormington possibly, Josh Norris and more notable, and Drake Batherson still, I still have to give the upper hand to a guy like Tim Stützle, because he really looks like he's going to be something tremendous as soon as the 2021 season starts. Next up for the Philadelphia Flyers, we have 21-year-old centerman and Morgan Frost. He already had a decent campaign in the NHL, and 20 games played this past season, had a total of 7 points, including 2 goals and 5 assists. So Morgan Frost, some great agility, some really strong playmaking and passing ability as well. And I've seen him personally playing the AHL this past year. He had 2 goals in the game that I saw him, and I believe it was a win over the Syracuse Crunch. So really strong. I really like everything about his game. Very nimble as a smaller statured forward as well. He can work on growing himself a little bit more, and he will over time, obviously. But in an increased role, definitely in the top 9, no doubt in my mind, for the Flyers in this win now stage. Frost is going to have plenty of ability to really thrive with this great offense in front of him, both 5-on-5 and on special teams. So for a team that's going to be pushing for playoffs for next year in the foreseeable future, Morgan Frost is definitely going to help lead the way and be given all the opportunities to succeed and possibly find himself as a Calder nominee. Next up for the Pittsburgh Penguins, we have 23-year-old left winger and Sam Miletic. Miletic had a total of just 32 points in 62 games played in his sophomore season in the AHL this past year, racking up 9 goals and 23 assists, and he's probably the most unlikely by far out of this entire video today and actually winning the Calder next season, let alone being a nominee, because of the depth that the Penguins have in their prospect pool. But between Sammy Poulin, I'm not really sure if he's really going to have much taste, if at all, at the NHL level in the 2021 season, and everything that I've read and seen is that Miletic could very well be that next rookie to make somewhat, if not a significant impact in the bottom 6 for the Penguins, because they've been dealing with injuries these past couple years, as we know. Their GM in Rutherford and everyone between has definitely been keeping tabs on him from what I've read. Miletic, a strong playmaker as well, really doesn't have too much of a high upside, but between the Penguins, whenever they call someone up, they always tend to do well, and they could find themselves in a very similar position with a guy like Miletic, should he not start the season with the Pens. If he does, then great, he could crack on that bomb on that 4th line, but it won't be an easy task with the competition in front of him, with a lot of fringe, bottom 6 players as it is for the Penguins. So Sam Miletic is my pick for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Next up for the San Jose Sharks, we have 20-year-old right-hand defenseman and Ryan Merkley. Merkley, there's no guarantee if he will make the roster next season, but assuming he does, he could have quite the impact, to say the least. The 20-year-old racked up 76 points in just 60 games in his final year in the OHL this past year, including 15 goals and 61 assists. Had a cup of coffee in the AHL as well, just 2 games played, no points, but he really looks like he's finally poised to take that next jump to the NHL level. His defensive game definitely needs some more work, but when it comes to his offensive ability as a dynamic, high-flying, puck-moving defenseman, all the potential is there, and there are many people within the Sharks organization and the fan base that hope he could really be the next Erik Karlsson, no less. It's not an easy task, but we'll see if he can amount up to somewhat of what EK has done as an amazing puck-moving defenseman. But to play behind him and Brent Burns will definitely take some playing time away as it is, because they command so much offensively speaking on that blue line. But possibly on the second power play, as the power play quarterback, could present himself some great opportunities and really could help this Sharks offense that has been depleted over the past year due to injuries and losing some key guys, including their captain Joe Pavelski. So we'll see if a guy like Ryan Merkley can really help take them over the edge back in the playoffs in this shortened season. But he has all the offensive tools to be one of the best and most dynamic puck moving defensemen in the NHL within the coming years. Next up for the St. Louis Blues, we have 22-year-old left-handed defenseman and Scott Perunovich, another great puck-moving defenseman who is sure to take that next step to the AHL. Playing his final year with the University of Minnesota Duluth this past year, he racked up a total of 40 points in just 34 games, including 6 goals and 34 assists. Another high-flying, fantastic two-way defenseman that is sure to hit the AHL and really could find himself on that bottom pair when you look at the defense currently for the St. Louis Blues, and what a get he would be for the St. Louis Blues. Really under the radar guy who was dominant at the college level, ready to play against men in the AHL if you ask me. Even a little bit undersized, because I believe he is 5'9". He can do a lot, and I think there's a lot of great potential, a lot of underrated potential with a guy like Perunovich to really not just make a splash in the AHL in the 2021 season, but be dominant in doing so for a St. Louis Blues team that is still in the win now stage, looking to have some more deep playoff runs and possibly some cup runs within the next couple of years. So Scott Perunovich, amazing vision, some great transition game, and some great playmaking overall in that offensive zone. I expect him to really be one of the next best power play quarterbacks, along with Torrey Krug for the St. Louis Blues. Next up for the Tampa Bay Lightning, we have 22-year-old right-handed defenseman, and that is Cal Foote. Cal Foote has seen some great growth in his game these past couple years, playing in the AHL for the Syracuse Crunch, and this past season had a total of 28 points in 62 games, going 6 goals and 22 assists, as a very sound two-way defenseman who is definitely reliable in his own defensive zone and can contribute offensively when needed. A lot of great potential there, and with the openings in the lineup currently for the Tampa Bay Lightning going into the 2021 season, with Kevin Shattenkirk being most notable to part ways to the Anaheim Ducks. We'll see what happens with Eric Chernak, because he has not signed a new deal with the Tampa at the time of recording this. A lot of things are going to happen with the Lightning still, and I think Cal Foote is definitely going to bring a huge dynamic to them, probably on that bottom pair of defense, and really be an NHL regular in the shortened season. So Cal Foote, a really strong defender, has a strong transition game, smooth skater as well, really is reliable in his own end, is only getting better by the day. I think he'll make quite the impact and surprise a lot of people with that dynamic offense in the Tampa Bay Lightning. Next up for the Toronto Maple Leafs, we have 19-year-old left winger and Nick Robertson, the younger brother of Jason. Both of them look like they can be competing possibly to be a Calder nominee, at least in the 2021 season, which is just insane. I really hope it does come to fruition. That would be quite an awesome story. But Robertson really stood out in his final year in juniors this past year, where he racked up 86 points in just 46 games, including 55 goals and 31 assists, and found himself playing in the qualifying round this past year for the Leafs, in which he had 1 goal in 4 games. But Robertson really looks like a lock to be in that top 9 if you ask me, and with all the departures that the Leafs have dealt with on the offensive side of things between Kasperi Kapanen and other guys like Andreas Johnsson, I think the opening is really there for a guy like Robertson in that top 9. A high-flying winger that has a lethal shot in that offensive zone is going to thrive either on that third line and possibly second line throughout the season. Time will tell, but Robertson truly has an amazing goal scoring ability and some strong playmaking ability as well. That's going to find himself in a great position 5-on-5 and on special teams, and if he does get any significant playing time between having Tavares, Marner, Nylander, or a guy like, of course, Austin Matthews, then amazing things are going to happen, and that very well could help his stock and point production and the possibility of becoming a Calder nominee. Next up for the Vancouver Canucks, we have 19-year-old left winger and Niels Hoglander. Hoglander currently playing the SHL for the 2021 season up until camp for the 2021 NHL season, has a total of 14 points in 21 games played to date, including 5 goals and 9 assists. Hoglander, between his deceptive speed, amazing hands, and offensive ability between his goal scoring and playmaking, he's just so balanced, and he's done a phenomenal job against men as a teenager these past couple of years in the SHL, and he's going to be looking to give all he has in camp in the 2021 season, and hoping that he does in fact crack the roster for the Canucks. You can easily find him in that top 9, because that bottom 6 is definitely not looking as strong as what it once was just a year ago. To have some openings for a guy like Hoglander, just amazing overall offensive ability, has some slick and dirty hands if you ask me. I think he would have some great potential as soon as the upcoming season for the Vancouver Canucks, and even with guys like Olli Juolevi in there and Rathbone as well. And there's one guy that I think Assuming they all hit the NHL, or at least some of them, that'll not just be good, but really solid and possibly be a Calder nominee, I'm picking Nils Hoglander. He has that potential. He's been fantastic to start the SHL season. I think he has plenty to give once camp starts for the Canucks. Next up for the Vegas Golden Knights, we have 22-year-old left winger in Jack Dugan, or Dugan, I might be saying his name wrong, but Jack had a total of 52 points in 34 games in his final year with Providence College this past year, including 10 goals and 42 assists. A pass-first winger who has some amazing playmaking ability in that offensive zone is going to look to definitely crack a top 9 spot with Vegas next season, and all indication is that he's going to get it, as he signed a 2-year deal this past offseason with the Vegas Golden Knights, and he's really looking to make that jump right away to the NHL level. I fully expect him to not just make the jump and make quite the impact with this win now team that's been in a lot of rumors at the time of recording this, possibly trade away some key pieces, get some cheaper guys in the lap because of the contract issues. Time will tell, but I think Duggan is going to definitely make a good argument, and Peyton Krebs might be a good argument as well, but I'm not sure how necessarily confident I am in him cracking the lineup and having a bigger role over a guy like Jack at this point in time. But time will tell. But regardless, Jack definitely has some great playmaking ability that is sure to transition well at the NHL level. Next up for the Washington Capitals, we have 19-year-old centerman and Connor McMichael. McMichael has really been amazing, has seen tremendous growth in his game this past year. His final year in juniors, he racked up 102 points in just 52 games played, including 47 goals and 55 assists. This kid can shoot the puck, has silky hands, amazing playmaking ability, a strong transition game, isn't terrible in the defensive end by any stretch of the imagination, and can really bring so much dynamics to his game to the Capitals lineup next season. And the expectation is for him, should he perform well in camp and crack this roster, he can make quite the impact and bring another big dynamic to this Capitals team. And a win now stage, going for the cup, as we know, still with Ovi and Backstrom and everyone else, and now Henrik Lundqvist, as we know. But a lot of potentials there for a guy like Connor McMichael, who should get some power play time, maybe on that second unit to start out things and really go from there. Amazing hands, strong speed, great playmaking ability, and shooting overall. He's a lethal weapon and could really be a top 6 forward sooner rather than later for the Washington Capitals. Last but not least, we have the Winnipeg Jets and their 19-year-old left-handed defenseman, Ville Heinola. Heinola is expected by a lot of fans and within the organization to make a huge splash for the Jets in the 2021 season, racking up 14 points in 19 games played in the 2021 season, currently on loan in Liga, including 1 goal and 13 assists. And this past year in the NHL season, he had a total of 5 points in just 8 games in a short stint in the NHL, racking up 1 goal and 4 assists in the process. But really, Heinola, a phenomenal skater who has a strong transition game as well, can really help out in the offensive zone as a great two-way defenseman, is ready for the NHL level. He's done great against men early as a teenager, and he's really expected to make quite the splash with a Jets team that does not have defensive depth by any stretch of the imagination right now. And Heinola is really expected to be that next man, that next big thing for the Jets on that blue line, and is going to be given plenty of opportunities, both 5-on-5 and special teams. And that's going to conclude this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to share with your friends, hit like, hit subscribe, all those great things. Help us get at 3,000 subscribers. It would really mean a lot because these videos do take quite a lot of time. So the best way for you to give me feedback is let me know your thoughts and hitting those buttons, of course. So thank you all again, and make sure to let me know your thoughts regarding if you agree or disagree. This is all subjective, but I can't wait to see what this rookie class is in store for in the 2021 NHL season. Thank you all so much again, guys. Check out my previous videos. I will have them right down here below in a second, and I'll catch you all next time.